Episode 4, West Coast Cycling Show. Welcome everyone, Matt Pointer here with you and Gary Suckling. And what a big time Australians have been having in Europe.
Absolutely. And Michael Matthews starting it off with a stage win or two-stage win in Tour of Slovenia. First of all, the prologue and then a road stage. Fantastic effort. Cameron Meyer, our own Cameron Meyer, a fantastic stage win as well. He backed up his Tour de Suisse. What a terrific effort from Cameron Meyer. He's back.
Fantastic riding from there. And of course, we've talked about another form of bike racing over the last couple of episodes, the Urban Downhill. It took place in Albany at the weekend. Sam Hill, the champion downhiller, was here. He took out the event, but we got a bit more of an inside story from another bloke. Okay, we talked about earlier, we've got our big surprise, our first ever guest on the West Coast Cycling Show, Jackson Davis. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate.
Now, for those of you who don't know Jackson, and if you're a roadie and you're a trackie, you never have heard of this bloke because you don't follow downhill mountain bike racing. Well, we do, and I happen to know his dad, who was the best pursuiter Australia ever produced once upon a time, Tony Davis. This is his boy. Jackson, what are you doing in town?
I'm back here for a downhill race. I've been down in Albany over the weekend, and been doing a bit of urban downhill race, which is the first one Australia's ever had. So yeah, I was there all weekend racing my bike and having some good times down there. Now,
of course, the Urban Downhill is something that we've promoted on the show over the last couple of weeks. Urban Downhill, for those of you who didn't get to see it, go onto the Red Bull channel and you'll be able to see things like, they happen in Brazil mainly, don't they?
Yeah.
These sort of road courses that go down just like a downhill race. Well, it is a downhill race. Now, one person described it to me as Urban Downhill is sort of like indoor velodrome racing. It's not the real thing, but the real thing is what you're good at, and you're going to the World Championships later this year.
Yep, I'm heading over, I think, end of August. So yeah, going to Norway for that. So this is my first time racing World Champs. Last year I spent a bit of time in Canada racing World Cups. So yeah, got a bit of experience under my belt, but hopefully go back this year and go a little bit better.
Now, you're a specialised sponsored athlete. They look after all your equipment and everything,
yep.
But it's not a financial sponsorship. So how do you handle the burden of being able to fly around the world and do these events?
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing. You know, it gets a little bit difficult. Thankfully for me, I got my parents who support me a lot, and Dad's been there before, so he's very willing to help me out. And yeah, it's not the easiest. I spent last year being a builder's labourer to get some money together to send myself over. So yeah, the sport's quite financially demanding, but we're getting by and we're getting overseas this year, so hopefully I can get my name out there a bit more and pick up some financial sponsors.
Now, the Urban Downhill, sponsored by Tourlet this last weekend.
Yep.
Of course, we had the big gun turn up for it, Sam Hill,
yep.
Very good mate of yours. Bit of inspiration growing up?
Yeah, well, it wasn't until I got to know Sam Hill until I started racing mountain bikes. My dad spent a little bit of time training with him when he was back in 2009, I think it was. So yeah, back in 2009 we went over to Canberra World Champs before I even raced a mountain bike, and I saw that and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And ever since then I've just been racing, and I followed him, and I did a little bit of training and riding with him when I was a bit younger, and now on the weekend I got to actually race against him, and yeah, and I was good to see him again, and he's going real well.
So that's Jackson Davis. If you want to get on board and support this young bloke as he goes to the World Championships, just drop us a line at the West Coast Cycling Show. If you don't know anything about downhill, there's a fantastic movie. It's the Steve Peat story. As we mentioned, the Canberra, he won the World Championship in Canberra. One of the legends of downhill mountain biking has just brought out a movie. Go on to iTunes, you can find it there, and you'll find out a lot more about downhill mountain bike racing. Mate, thanks for your time. Good luck at the Worlds this year.
Thanks, mate.
No worries. Well, he's a good kid, that one. Somebody to watch for future.
Absolutely. Let's hope he gets a little bit better break than his dad did. And when it comes to those Olympics, we certainly know he didn't get the best treatment.
He didn't get the best treatment.
Absolutely. We'll look out for more of Jackson. And looks a lot like Mum, Jackson.
He does indeed, no doubt about it. Got Mum's good looks. That's one advantage for the kid. So he's got something more to offer the sponsor.
And Tony will love you for that.
Yes, well and truly.
I'll tell you what, speaking to things a little bit closer to town, we brought Pickering Brook up on the weekend.
Yeah.
What a miserable day. Let's tell us about that race.
Yeah, round 2 of Pickering Brook, and the A-graders were absolutely flying. Guy Kalmer of the arbitrage team, he beat Michael Storer and Michael Freeberg in the time trial. Great piece of riding by him. Rebecca Mackey, the lady who seems to be able to win everything in front of her, she took out the time trial, did her personal best time. Then we went on to the road race. Jessica Huston had something to prove in the women's road race. She went up the road straight away with a teammate, Steph Boehm. Steph Boehm couldn't keep up with her. Cass Higgs launched across to her, so the two arbitrage girls, they rode away from the field nearly 4 minutes clear at one point. They won the women's race, 1 and 2, Cass Higgs crossing the line first. And in the road race, the Omnium World Champion, Michael Freeberg, new team, once again in the arbitrage colours. He has decided about 4 laps into the race, it's time for me to go. Off he went, took a couple of young blokes with him. Darcy Perotta hung on, they worked all the way. And then just before the finish, Michael Freeberg unloaded poor young Darcy and won solo. And the sprint was taken out by Nick Graham Dawson of the Bianchi Lotto team. So a good day's racing out at Pickering Brook.
Absolutely, and to tell you what, we've got some excitement coming our way. The Westral Wheel Race. We've also got the big track night as well, the whole thing, the whole day in fact, out at the Speed Dome. Matt, you're behind that, you're the commentator. Give us a rundown on what's coming through Murray Hall's track cycling.
Well, it's a great event. We've got the BWA organisation running their Grand Fondo out the back of the track and around, I think it's Herne Hill. And then of course we've got Murray Hall's Track Cycling Western Australia program, which incorporates the Westral Wheel Race. And we've got our superstar kid, Sam Welsford, back in town this weekend. He's just come back from the ITS Grand Prix in Adelaide. He won everything on the card that he had to win in Adelaide. He's going to be the defending champion for the men's Westral Wheel Race. Let's hope that Sam Welsford can show some good form this weekend.
Absolutely, he's going to have some very fast sprinters to contend with over there at the Speed Dome. So I think Sam certainly will give them a run for their money in the endurance stakes. But let's see how many of our top Australian sprinters are there on the weekend. It's going to be a great event, one way or the other.
It is going to be a great event. Tale Christie's going to be there. The under-19 female, well, she's actually an under-17, went to Adelaide, run all of the under-19 sprint events in Adelaide. She'll be on good form for this weekend. So something to look out for in the women's Westral Wheel Race. Tale Christie could be one of the youngest ever winners of the women's Westral Wheel Race this weekend. Action kicks off at the Midvale Speed Dome at 10 a.m. this weekend for the bike race. Now, there is a bit of a special guest at Track Cycling Western Australia this week. The family surname Norris. It's one of those big names in West Australian cycling. We normally know about Ken Norris, state champion, national champion, but there's another Norris who decided that Perth wasn't good enough for him. He went and moved to Victoria a long, long time ago, and he's just been inducted into the Victorian Hall of Fame in Victoria. How does this come about? How does Laurie Norris?
Well, Laurie Norris goes back a long, long way as a personal family friend. He's actually on his way over as a special guest at Track Cycling WA, and he'll be sitting in the VIP section. I hope they've got plenty of wine on supply. He's actually staying at my house. I'm very, very concerned about what's going to happen there. But in the meantime, Laurie is a very decorated cyclist, a former state track champion, rode many, many Bendigo Madisons, and he came from Bendigo to start with. Lived for some time in WA and formed many, many strong friendships there. And it's going to be great to get Laurie Norris. There was a time when he nicknamed Laurie Norris Spaghetti Head. Unfortunately, the Spaghetti's left the building, but we will see Laurie back here on the weekend. I look forward to it.
I'll tell you what, if you get the chance to speak to Laurie Norris this weekend, ask him about his Pat McCucci story at the Sun Tour. Anyone who knows that story will know exactly what I'm talking about, and Laurie would love to tell that story.
He's a war story man from a way back, and don't you worry, he's a commissaire. He's also the #1 handicapper for Victorian track cycling, so do not get on the wrong side.
Well, I think we've guaranteed we'll never get a house to stay in Victoria with Laurie Norris, but something to look forward to as well this weekend. The BWA, we've mentioned that it's on, but how many people are going to get riding this event this weekend?
Look, I think there'll be somewhere between 500 and 600, and always cyclo-sportif, the concept. It's team riding, they ride around in groups of 9, chasing one another, ultimately looking for the fastest time on the day. So BWA are a very separate type of event. They get special guest invitations into the track. And for BWA people, we'll see you at the track. Come and enjoy yourselves, guys. It's a very daunting thought looking at that wall, and I hope for the first time you guys get to do the same and have a look at that.
Gary will be there doing the conversation for BWA. I'll be on the mic with Rick Fulcher from New South Wales talking about all the track stuff. You can go to our Facebook page and have a look for us, West Coast Cycling Show. We would like to thank the Rug Studio. That's where we're standing here today. A beautiful place to be here in Leederville. If you'd like to come and see some of the knickknacks they've got here, it is just off the way down here in Leederville. We look forward to seeing you for episode 5 on the West Coast Cycling Show.
It's been wonderful once again, guys, and the rug thing is no pun on Matt and I. As we're both proceeding a little bit, we won't go there with the rug story.
No, it's not that sort of rug shop. It's a nice shop, though. Cheers, guys.